Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I partnered with Sigma to show you guys my flawless foundation routine, and I'll be showing you guys how I put these two new brushes from Sigma to use for my foundation routine. So this is the 4D HD Precision brush, and then we have the P87 Edge Perfection brush. So I'm going to show you guys how I use those brushes, and then I'm going to be showing you guys how I create my long-lasting full coverage matte foundation routine. When I tell you that this foundation routine is amazing and the best for when I need to wear my makeup for a really long day and I know that it needs to stay on and not get oily, this is what I'll do. I have done this foundation routine and worn it for 16 hours. That is way too long to ever have makeup on, but it has happened. It was a long day and my makeup looked flawless the entire day. At the end of the day, probably by like hour 10, my skin started to kind of get shiny, but I didn't have to touch up at all. My makeup wasn't melting off my skin. My pores weren't peeking through. It was amazing. So if you guys want to stick around to see how I get my flawless, full coverage matte foundation routine, then just keep on watching. So first I'm going to go in with primer, and I'm going into the Smashbox Photo Finish Super Light Smooth and Blur Primer, and I always used to kind of skip the step of applying primer and then just apply foundation first before doing anything else. But now I always, no matter what, even if I'm doing like a lightweight foundation or even full coverage, anything, I always apply primer first. Just because I have such oily skin and my pores are really large, so I like to smooth the base first and make sure that my primer is something that is going to be for oily skin, and that's going to help kind of make sure that my skin doesn't get as oily throughout the day. So first I'm just going to apply this, concentrating that in the T-zone where I get the most oily. So now this is another step that I started including into my routine, and I feel like it really does make a huge difference on keeping my foundation on all day. I like to spritz my face right after I apply the primer. I like to use the Urban Decay De-Slick Makeup Setting Spray. It's for oil control, so I'm just going to spritz this all over my face. And then I'm just going to wait for it to kind of just air dry a little bit, help it out by fanning my face. Okay, now this is going to seem crazy because powder mixed with liquid is not a good mix, but I like to set my primer before I move on and apply my foundation. Even if I'm not setting my primer first with the De-Slick setting spray, I still like to apply a little bit of powder. I think it just kind of helps lock in the primer and helps your face stay flawless throughout the day. At least that's what it does for my skin, and I cannot go without this step. I really do see a big difference. So I like to use a little bit, tiny amount of translucent powder, and I like to use the RCMA No Color Powder, and I'll show you how I apply it. So I'm going to pick up a very small amount of powder on my Sigma Tapered Highlighter F35 brush and apply it on my T-zone right over top of that primer. So now obviously I have oily skin, so I like to use a full coverage matte foundation. I personally just prefer full coverage. And today I'm going to go into this Rimmel Stay Matte Liquid Mousse Foundation, and I'm going to be mixing these two shades, which is 010 Light Porcelain and 303 True Nude. So to apply my foundation, I'm going to be using this Sigma F83 curved kabuki brush, and look at how cool it's curved. So it's going to perfectly fit into all of the crevices and edges of my face. So now what I like to do is conceal anything that is peeking through the foundation. Sometimes I don't mind it, but sometimes when I'm applying a full coverage foundation, I want it to be really full coverage and kind of all full coverage. I like to take a little bit of concealer, so I'm going to go into the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer in light medium, and I like to just apply a really small dot anywhere where I feel like I need a little bit more coverage. And then I'm going to take this really cool Sigma brush. It's a triangular pointed brush. It's so cool. It is the 4D HD Precision brush, and this brush is going to be perfect just to blend out the edges of the concealer because it's really precise, so you can kind of control where the where the concealer is going. I'm also going to take the very point of this brush. That's why I like this brush, because it's so precise. And just blend right around my nose. I have this weird issue where the foundation and concealer never really blends right into the very inner part of my nose. So I like to just blend that with a brush just to make sure that there's no creasing in there. Now for concealer, I'm going to be going into the Tarte Shape Tape concealers, and I'm going to be mixing the shade Light Medium and then applying Light Sand over top. So I'm going to be going into this Sigma P87 Edge Precision brush, and it's a really cool brush. It's flat and angular, and I think it's going to be perfect for blending out the concealer and getting into like all the little corners. Now I'm picking up the RCMA No Color Powder on my damp 3D HD blender by Sigma, and I'm going to start applying that all over my skin and just patting that in to set my foundation and concealer. So now to contour my cheeks, I'm going to be going into this Sigma Sculpt Highlight and Contour Palette, and I'm going to be mixing these two shades, which is Faking It and Throw Shade. And I'm going to apply that through the cheeks using my Sigma Large Angled Contour F40 brush. So while I'm still using this contour palette, I'm just going to quickly contour my nose. So I wiped off the 4D HD Precision brush by Sigma on a paper towel just to get the excess concealer off. And I'm going to be using these two shades again to contour my nose. So what's cool about this brush is because it's pointed, so I'm actually just going to use the point to create the line down the center of my, not center, down the sides of my nose. Okay, this brush was amazing for that. I was kind of nervous, but it's so weird. So the flat side kind of blends it out, and then the pointed side makes that perfectly straight line down the side of my nose. Look at that. That is so crazy. Now for blush, I'm going into the Tarte Tartelette Blush Book, and I'm going to pick up this shade Raw Raw. And I'm going to apply that on my cheeks using my Sigma Large Angled Contour F40 brush. After I contour my nose, I always like to apply a powdered highlight on the side. Not a shimmery highlight, a matte powdered highlight, just so it kind of brings in the nose, makes it look slimmer. So I'm going to go into the Tarte Park Ave Princess palette, and clearly I've been loving these two matte highlights, but I'm going to pick up this shade right here, which is called Halo. And then I'm going to pick it up on this P87 Edge Precision brush by Sigma because it has that flat, angular shape. It's going to be perfect to outline the sides of my nose without kind of messing up the contour. So I let that powder sit for a few seconds, and I'm going to go back into the F35 Tapered Highlighter brush by Sigma and just dust the powder away. And I go in upwards motion towards the contour, so it kind of softens the contour as well. And now I'm going to highlight, and I'm going into this Ofra Cosmetics All of the Lights highlighter, and I'm just going to mix all the 4 shades together. And I'm applying that on the high point of my cheek using my Sigma High Cheekbone Highlighter F03 brush. And then the very last step is to go back and set my face once again with the Urban Decay De-Slick Makeup Setting Spray. And that's it. This is the completed look of my flawless full coverage matte foundation routine that's perfect for oily skin. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm telling you, this foundation routine is amazing for oily skin. It really is a life changer. Well, at least for me it was. So if any of you guys try out this routine, definitely let me know what you guys think. I would love to hear your thoughts and see what worked and what didn't work for you. And also, these brushes were so fun to play around with. I love like different shape brushes to see how I can play with them and use them to incorporate them in my routines, and today I did, and I'm so surprised, especially with the 4D HD Precision brush that was perfect for nose contour and spot concealing. So I'm going to tell you really quick what else this brush does, because there are other uses for the brush that I didn't show you guys in the video. So it says that it finally applies and diffuses concealer, primer, and eyeshadow. And then this one right here, which is the P87 Edge Precision Brush, which has that really cool flat angled triangular brush head. Look at that, it's so cool. So this one you can apply and blend concealer with and bake with powder, which is what I did underneath my eyes and then the sides of my nose. And then you can also clean up like your brow area if you want to carve out your brows, or clean up around your lipstick, which would be perfect if you go like, yes. And if you guys want to follow me on Snapchat, Instagram, and Twitter, that'll be right here, as well as down in the description box, and also a list of all the products that I used today, along with brushes, will be listed down below for you guys to find everything easier. And I think that should be it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!